All right, we're back with another pick'em video. It is Tuesday, April 1st in the NBA. You're going to jump right into things. So we have a 7-game slate, pretty good value on the board right now. We're going to go over our recap of last video picks real quick. Then we'll talk about the injury news, and then we'll start hopping into some plays. So if that sounds cool, definitely go ahead and leave the video a like, comment something down below. It does tell YouTube to push this video out a little bit more when you do that. So I appreciate when everyone does that. And yeah, subscribe if you are new. Let's hop into it. All right, so quick recap of what we talked about in yesterday's video. We went over 5 official plays, but we also talked about a whole bunch of different plays. So like the Bam Adebayo play wasn't an official play, but we talked about it extensively. He crushed his lines. Before the official video picks, we went 3 and 2. So we'll take the winning day here after 2 losing days, which is kind of few and far between at this point in the season. We haven't had many losing days. So again, we'll take the 3 and 2 day. Real quick, going over them, Keontae George over 16.5 points. He crushed that line easily. He had 20 points, but I'm pretty sure he had that pretty early on, so kind of a no-sweat bet there. Pelle Larsson was another guy. That was the main guy we went to in terms of the Heat game. He crushed his line. If he's going to continue to get this much time in the court, definitely someone I'm going to be looking at. He had 16 points, but again, very early on, I think he had 6 points, so no sweat bet there. Austin Reeves, another no-sweat bet. He had 12 points to end the game. I don't think anyone scored more than 20 points on the entire Lakers team. A bunch of guys were scoring, and Austin Reeves just couldn't get to his line. No one really went to their lines for the Lakers here. So good read on Austin Reeves. The other 2 misses are kind of unfortunate here. Josh Giddey ends on the hook. He had 8 rebounds. He had 6 at halftime. His revenge game, he played pretty well. He had 10 assists. I chipped in with some points. I think like 15 points or something. But they got crushed. So unfortunate there. He ends on 8. He only plays 28 minutes. But again, don't hate the read there. Again, blowout situation you do have to take into account. But I thought it would stay a little bit closer than it did, and it just didn't. And then Derek White kind of the other way around here. Doesn't start the game shooting very well at all. It was horrible. Couldn't hit his first shot. Him and Drew Holiday didn't heat up till like the second half at all. He ends with 14 points. Unfortunate just because Derek White or Jaylen Brown ended up getting ruled out. So we got really good CLV on this line. This line hopped to 16.5, 17.5 some places. So we got really good value on the 15.5 points line with Jaylen Brown being a late scratch. We kind of thought that might happen. And he ends with 14 just because I'm bad shooting to start the game. But pretty good reads overall. Definitely happy with that. And that's all you can ask for at the end of the day, especially at this point in the season. So we're going to try to continue to do that today. Again, pretty good slate for us, 7 games and some value up there. So that's what we're going to be attacking in today's video. And we're going to go over the injury news before that. So let's hop into that first. All right, so I'm going to try to kind of breeze through this injury report here. For the Portland and Atlanta game, we got Anthony Simons going to be a game time decision. So guys like Shaedon Sharpe, guys like Deni Avdija, they're going to be getting huge minutes, 38 projected minutes for them. If they can stay close in this game, they are a 5-point underdog, but if it can stay close and these guys can get their minutes, they're definitely dudes that can go over their lines. Clingan, 29 projected minutes. We'll see if he gets that many, but the main guys I always want to look at here at this point in the season, actually, I guess 3 guys, Kumara, Avdija, and Shaedon Sharpe are the 3 main guys I want to look at, especially in a weaker matchup here against Atlanta. So those could be some good value. No Rob Will, no Scoot Henderson, no DeAndre Ayton, and probably no Jeremy Grant. He's always a doubtful tag and ends up not playing. And if Simons gets ruled out, that's just going to be another plus for us going to some overs here for Portland. On the Atlanta side of things, Trae Young, always a probable tag, ends up going out and play, so I expect him to be out there. Toppin, Capella, Wallace, all guys that have been out and missed time, so nothing too crazy there. You can see the projected minutes for this team. Mo Gay still continues to start, ends up not playing that many minutes. But guys like Ricochet, he should get a lot of time, potentially still in the Rookie of the Year running. We'll see what happens there. Really don't know who's going to win Rookie of the Year at this point with all the kind of a weaker class altogether. But Dyson Daniels, Trae Young, Onyeka Okongwu, they should get as much time as they can handle. And then Karis LeVert and Terrence Mann, kind of the main guys off the bench. Moving into Phoenix and Milwaukee, the big news, obviously, Kevin Durant going to be missing the next week or 2. That doesn't look like a very good ankle sprain for him. He's going to be out for this game. This is a game against Milwaukee. Both teams kind of battling for playoff positioning. We'll see if Phoenix can even make the play-in at this point. But Devin Booker, obviously the main look here with all these guys out, projected for a ton of minutes. Ryan Dunn could also be a pretty good spot here, depending on where his lines ends up being. But Bradley Beal also going to be a game time decision. So Booker probably going to be the main guy I want to look at, just because he's the most guy I'm going to trust, and he's going to be the least affected guy if someone like Beal is ruled out here. Tyus Jones is something I want to look at too in terms of assists. His minutes have been low, but Bradley Beal is projected to not play this game. He could get a little bit boosted minutes, and his assists are easier to come with, especially with no Durant, no Beal in the lineup. He's going to get more usage. And then on the Milwaukee side of things, still no Damian Lillard, Bobby Portis, both been out for a little bit. Giannis a probable tag, so he should be ready to go. Brook Lopez has been a guy that's really been really good, like the most consistent player for them ever since Brook Lopez got that suspension. Kyle Kuzma's a guy that you can not really trust, but he's been okay the last few games as well. And again, you can see the projected minutes for some of these other guys. Gary Trent Jr., a guy that I've always been looking at with all these injuries piling up. as well. Then we got Philadelphia and New York. I'm also just realizing how loud the dishwasher sounds. Hopefully you guys can't hear that, but I am cooking up in the kitchen right now, kind of a mental thing. We usually do pretty well when we cook up in the kitchen, chef some lines out. But Philadelphia, New York, 13-point spread. Just keep that in mind. There is some blowout potential here. Karl-Anthony Towns is a game-time decision. We'll see if he goes out there and plays. Guys like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges have really stepped up without Brunson out. Towns has been a guy that, yeah, he can go off, but Mikal and OG are really the guys that have gotten boosted lines for sure, and they've been playing really well, and they're at home. Always want to look at Mikal Bridges at home here. But Brunson's still out, McBride's still out, Campaign's still out. Guys like, Kolek has 15 projected minutes. If he gets more than that, he can get some assists pretty quick. So a guy that if you look at his assist lines, and they're going to be a little bit lower than what I think he could get in that much time, might be someone I want to look at. And then the Philadelphia side of things, not Jared Butler, the Justin Edwards and Quentin Grimes projected minutes are always something I want to look at. They've been playing really well, but this Knicks defense is pretty good. So a ton of injuries on the Philly side of things, a bunch of injuries as well on the New York side of things. Mikal Bridges is really the guy I want to look at home. He plays really well without Brunson in the scoring department. Weak defense here for Philly. Toronto and Chicago, we got Agbaji, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick. Still no Brandon Ingram for this team. He'll make his debut probably next year. But yeah, they don't play anyone more than 20 minutes, or 30 minutes here. So Jacoby Walter is projected for the most minutes. Kind of crazy. It's the loophole right now that teams are doing when they try to avoid those tanking fines for guys like Scotty Barnes. Emmanuel Quickley's not going to do that for them, but really just Scotty Barnes, an all-star at one point in his career. So he's not going to get more than 27, 28 minutes, even in a close game. So going at unders on certain guys like that is always in play here for me. Jakob Poeltl's been doing his thing in limited minutes, but and he's got a weak defense here. So someone I want to look at. I'm just mentioning that because it's a weaker defense, so going to unders is a little bit harder, but their lines are probably going to be a little bit more inflated. So just keep that in mind. With that amount of minutes on the court, it's going to be hard for a lot of these guys to get to their line. So good seeing Jacoby Walter have that much projected minutes, because he could be the guy that's kind of sneaky look here against a weak defense. On the Chicago side of things, they are in a back-to-back here, so no projected game time decision for Giddey. I like to see that. Kobe White should be ready to go. Buzelis has been really good. Not the best defense in the world here in Toronto either, so the projected minutes for a lot of these guys should be be pretty high. Kobe White, Giddey, they're seeing what they can do with these two guys at really the main helm of this thing. The two-headed snake of that guard combo has been pretty good for the Bulls. They've been playing pretty well over the last 10 to 12 games. So curious to see how they do it again today. Buzelis and all those guys projected for more than 30 minutes, so it could be a good look here for Chicago side of things. Then we got Orlando and San Antonio. Cole Anthony is still going to be a game-time decision. They're also on a back-to-back, so just keep that in mind. He's missed the last few games with this toe injury. He's actually been out for a while now, so you can see the projected minutes here. Guys like Franz Wagner and Banchero are going to be the main guys to look at in a weaker matchup against San Antonio. But again, very weak defense overall, so you could definitely get some bench value as well here. And then on the San Antonio side of things, no big-time injuries to talk about, other than Fox and Wembanyama still being out. Chris Paul has been randomly getting more and more minutes in some of these games, but against Orlando, I don't expect him to get a ton of time, and it's a tough defense to go against for guards here. So could be a good spot for a guy like Jeremy Sohan to get some rebounds. Rebounding centers versus Orlando has been really good. The problem is he's kind of a smaller center at this spot here, so I wish he was kind of a more rebounding center, because this is a weak matchup for him. Over the last 2 weeks, Orlando's been giving up a ton of rebounds to centers. Then we got Golden State and Memphis. This is also a team on a back-to-back. This Memphis team is Kuminga and Gary Payton going to be game-time decisions. I guess Payton is going to be out for a little bit. But the projected minutes here, Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, the main guys, Podziemski, Draymond Green, both projected for 30-plus minutes here. So we'll see if Kuminga plays. That's going to affect the bench guys. But obviously, in a matchup here for Steph Curry, I'm really liking this one. Always going to Curry's three-pointers or Curry's points against defenses that are weak against above-the-break threes, which Memphis is. Always a good play here. And then Jimmy Butler in the same kind of breath there, someone that can definitely get some assists in that department, and same with Draymond Green. So interesting play here for Golden State. Memphis on the other side of things, no injuries to really talk about, but they aren't a game-time decision. They're dealing with a new coach. The first two games has not been too good for them. They started the game yesterday really hot against the Celtics as they couldn't really hit anything, and John Morant was doing anything he wanted, but just keep that in mind. They want to get a win here at some point. They are going to be in the playoffs, and I don't think they want to roll over and die. So Memphis at one point is going to have a good game here overall and get a win. But again, another tough matchup here as they're 5-point underdogs against a Western team that's also battling for playoff positioning. And then lastly, we got Minnesota and Denver. Just keep this in mind. Jokic does not rebound as well against Rudy Gobert in this Minnesota Timberwolves team, so it's not going to be as free, that rebounding line for Jokic, even like the triple-double line if you want to look at something like that. It's not as free as it usually is, and Gobert's projected for a ton of minutes, I think, because of that. But also the main injury news here, I guess it's not injury news, but the guys that are going to be out, Donte DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, both suspended for this game because of that tussle they had with the Pistons, so they're not going to be in this one. Those are guys' main role players. Donte DiVincenzo has been starting a little bit, but Naz Reid and Donte, their main role players that kind of come off the bench mostly. Nickeil Alexander-Walker are going to get a big minutes boost here, 25 projected minutes for him. Mike Conley also projected for 25 minutes, but again, Rudy Gobert, Edwards, Julius Randle, McDaniels, all projected for 30-plus minutes in a game that they're missing some guys. So it could be a good spot to look at some guys' assists, even just more production for some of these dudes going up against Denver who give up a lot of assists. And then on the Denver side of things, they do have a lot of injury news, so we have to see if Jamal Murray's going to play, Aaron Gordon's going to play. Look like Jokic and Brown should be ready to go, but you always want to keep that in mind. Obviously, with no Murray, no Gordon is going to change some things for Denver. All right, so jumping into some actual plays here, we're going to be using a tool called Props Madness like we always do. If you're watching this video and you're like, I got to try this tool out, and you haven't done so already, check my link in the description down below. You're going to see a code RICH. When you use that code, you're going to get free week trial, and you're going to get 25% off your first month or your first year. This tool is awesome. I'm going to let the video do the talking for me, and also really excited to do this for WNBA. It's going to give us a lot of different angles to go to. And WNBA is a little bit less volatile with less like load management and injury news to talk about, just because there's less games, less teams, and things like that. Being able to see all these different defensive ranks and how players score is going to be a really good leg up for us. We're going to start with Deni Avdija here, and I'm looking at his points real quick, but I do want to go to his rebounds and assist line at 13.5. I really like what he's been able to do in this much time. He's projected for 38 minutes in this game. When he's getting 34 plus minutes, he's over this in 66% of the games. If you want to just talk about games without like DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Anderson I'm not going to do, but without DeAndre Ayton, without Rob Will, those are the main guys. He's now over this in 75% of games. And he didn't get there against the Atlanta Hawks last time he played them, but he didn't play that much time. So just take a look at this hit rate, and this much time in the court without these guys, he's even able to crush this line, and it's a weak matchup. He's going to be able to go out there and get some rebounds. He's definitely going to be able to chip in some assists. If you look at the assists by itself, his weakest defense here is the 27th ranked interiorly. That's where 45% of his assists come from. So a lot of his assists coming right at the rim, and that's where they're weak. So I do like the assist potential here. And then similarly, the rebounds, similar types of players really rebounding well against this Atlanta Hawks team. Again, in this much time, he's been able to do this in terms of his rebounding line. Without the main centers on the team, he turns into the best rebounder on the team. If this one can stay close, he's going to get that much time in the court, 35 plus minutes. He's projected for 38. Really liking what I'm seeing from Deni Avdija. And then before we go off Deni Avdija real quick, I do want to show the head-to-head because he got 8 rebounds in that game and he got 4 assists in that game. So we ended with 12 rebounds and assists. But you can see he had 25 minutes only in that game, 12 potential assists in that game, as well as 9 potential rebounds. So the potentials are there even in the 25 minutes he played. Now we can expect 10 plus more minutes from him in this one, barring some crazy blowout. But really like what I'm seeing from Deni. First play of the day, definitely going to be his 13.5 rebounds and assists. And then before going completely away from this game, I do want to mention Clingan. He's projected for 29 minutes. If he's going to get 27 plus minutes, here's his hit rate on his rebounds line. So just keep that in mind, 9.5 rebounds. Looking okay for a guy like Donovan Clingan. But again, Deni Avdija is definitely my favorite play here. I also want to mention Deni Avdija's points. He is in a pretty good situation to score some points here in a weaker matchup. But I don't love the head-to-head just because he only had 12 points last time they played again. He only had 25 minutes. And his line's kind of at 21.5. So very similar to the Bam Adebayo line we talked about in yesterday's video, where he ended up going to his rebounds and assists. He crushed that line, but he also crushed his points line. It's just a little bit more reliant on the points if you go to the PRA or something like that, which is kind of why I'm landing on the rebounds and assists, but I do like his scoring potential if you do find some value that includes his points. So Deni Avdija, definitely my favorite play here. I think there's some value here for a lot of guys because a lot of guys projected for a lot of minutes in a weak matchup here against the Hawks. So guys like Toumani Camara also in a pretty good spot to hit their overs if you do find some value in those players. Next play I'm looking at is going to be Ryan Dunn at 8.5 points. I want to say I want to get to Tyus Jones. I just hate where his minutes have been trending, but with no Kevin Durant, Tyus Jones has been really good, obviously. A lot of these from February or before that. So His minutes have really taken a hit recently, so not someone I can fully trust, but even just like his points and assist potential, like 92% hit rate without Durant, got to be something you take into consideration here. And he's going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, they're kind of on the outside looking in right now of the play-in situation. I'm not sure how that's going to change with Kevin Durant probably being out for the rest of the regular season. But, you might think like, okay, they're going to run a little bit of a younger guys, but at the same time, with all the money on the books right now, and with Bradley Beal potentially coming in, maybe they do run Tyus Jones. So points and assists, definitely a lean for Tyus Jones, but my play I do like is going to be Ryan Dunn. This is games without Kevin Durant not looking amazing, but a lot of these games not playing a ton of time. He's projected for 27 minutes in this one. He's been playing really well recently too, so games he's going to get 25 to 29 minutes over an 87.5% of those games. In terms of the defense here, yes, it's a solid matchup, or I guess mediocre matchup for him to score some points. It's not the best in the world. It's not the worst in the world. And again, if he's just on the court for this much time, his points do look really good. I wouldn't chip in with his assists. Maybe you talk yourself into getting some rebounds, but even that, I don't really love. The play I do like is going to be Ryan Dunn. I think Tyus Jones, with the projected minutes he's at right now, I don't love it, but he's also in a pretty good spot here without someone like Kevin Durant. Booker would be the main guy you want to look at here. Also, if you're just like considering, Kevin Durant's out, he's probably the guy I want to go to. But in games without Kevin Durant, they don't win very often. He's only over his points line in 5 of 13 games without Kevin Durant on the floor, so just keep that in mind. He didn't go over against the Bucks last time they played. He only had 19 points. This is a game they won by 2 points, so not very good history against them. And again, pick and roll ball handling, it's a little bit better situation for him to score the ball, but I don't like his current form, what he's been doing recently. They've been losing a lot of games also, so maybe they do lean on some of these bench guys. You see a game like a Tyus Jones come out of there, or a Ryan Dunn. Even if Beal does play, I still kind of like these players, but if they don't play, I think we're going to get great value on those lines. So the main guys I'm looking at here is going to be Tyus Jones for his points and assists. That's going to be a lean, and then Ryan Dunn for his points at 8.5. I think you got to consider that as well. Next play I like here is going to be Chris Paul under his 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Yes, it sounds pretty low, but he's projected for 27 minutes in this game. You can see his minutes have kind of been all over the place, and this isn't a team that's going to like really get his competitive edge up. I don't think he seems to play well against those teams like the Celtics. That's the last time we went over against this. The Warriors, you might think he would play a little bit harder, but he only played 18 minutes in that game. They lost that thing by 42 points. This is a 4-point spread in favor of Orlando. His projected minutes are 27. They've been going down. You can see games he's playing 28 or less minutes. He's only over this in 41% of them. Then you talk about the matchup here. It's a tough matchup for him to score. It's a tough matchup for him to get some assists as well. If you go to the assist potential, this is a scoring chart. They rank number 1. 61% of his shots come from above the break. Yeah, sure, they're number 1 there. At the paint, 4% of his shots come there, 7%. They're very strong in a lot of these different instances. Now, mid-range does scare me a little bit because that's where 18% of his shots come from, and that's where the weak point of this defense is for Orlando. But you can see the assist potential here too. That's what's going to carry this line a lot. It's a tough matchup for anyone to get assists for him. Above the break, at the rim, interiorly, whatever it might be, it's a tough matchup for him. So honestly, I was inclined to go to the rebounds and assists at 8.5. Might land on the PRA. I'm on the edge. I'm doing an under on Chris Paul in some regard. I think for the video pick, it's going to be PRA because Chris Paul's a crazy guy and he can go over his rebounds and assist line, even in tougher matchups, even in limited minutes or whatever it might be. So his PRA has a better hit rate on the under in terms of these limited minutes. And if he gets less than that, it's going to be even harder for him. So tough matchup overall for him to score the points, get some rebounds, get some assists. I'm taking the under on Chris Paul. I just think his minutes are going to be continuing to go down and down and down. They're running these younger guys as much as they can handle. And Chris Paul not really a part of the main structure of the team as of this point in the season. They're much more focused on next year. Chris Paul will probably be a little bit more of a participant in this team. So Chris Paul under 15.5 PRA. If you want to go to 8.5 rebounds and assists, I also like that. Just a difficult matchup for him. And you can also see he played this team earlier on in the season. He played 27 minutes in that game when he's projected fourth today, and he only had 13 points, rebounds, and assists. He had 6 points, he had 2 rebounds, and he had 5 assists. So Chris Paul under everything I really like. Next play I like here is going to be in the Bulls and the Raptors game, and it's going to be Kobe White. I was looking at his points, I was looking at his assists. I like the potential for both of them, especially considering Josh Giddey did just pop up on the game time decision report. This is a back-to-back situation for them. So if Giddey goes out and sits, I think the assist potential is going to be even a little bit better for him. But yeah, Kobe White's been pretty good in terms of getting this line. He also gets very, very close to this line, which scares me a little bit, but he's going up against the Raptors, projected for a decent amount of minutes. And we can see without Zach LaVine in the lineup or even on the team here, and games without Ayo Dosunmu, he's over this in 57% of games. And then you see the weakness that they have in terms of how he scores the points. His main source of scoring is in transition. The Raptors are ranked 21st there. Similar types of players have been able to go over their scoring line a decent amount. So 21st defensively in transition. transition, if you take out those top 10 teams and you consider the fact that there's no Zach LaVine, no Ayo Dosunmu, this line's going to jump to, oops, I did minutes back, so let's go to the actual one. That was anticlimactic. It's going to jump to a 64.3% hit rate. So over in 8 of the last 9 games or something like that. Pretty good hit rate over the last 10 games or so in these weaker transition spots without Zach LaVine, without Ayo Dosunmu, and potentially no Josh Giddey. There's no Trey Jones. He's going to be one of the main guards, so he's going to, I think, get all the time he can handle. Again, they've been pretty good. He's coming off a complete dud performance against the one of the difficult matchups in the league for a guard in the OKC Thunder. So Coby White bounce back spot here, chip him some assists, get some points. I think he's in a pretty good spot here. He might just creep over, but again, that doesn't matter for us if he crushes this line or creeps over. I do think Coby White is in a good position here to go over this line though. So Coby White, liking this one at 28.5 points and assists for him. You can look at the rebounds. It's not as impressive to me. If you want to look at his PRA, it is actually pretty good. So if you want to chip him with those, 32.5, not a bad line either. I was honestly between the PRA and the points and rebounds. The only reason I didn't get there is if I take away all of these different things and I go to the head-to-head, he didn't get over his rebounds line in any of those games. He did chip him with 4, so it would get us to the same line. And they did have a 0 rebound performance against them, but he did assist pretty well in those matchups. Of course, he did score okay in those matchups as well. So I got to the points and assists. You can go to either one. The main official pick is going to be the points and assists, but if you want to look at the points and rebounds and assists, I don't mind that one either. And then the last play of the video here is going to be Brandin Podziemski at 13.5 points. I've honestly thought about his points and assist line at 17.5. Could also be in play here. He played really well against this Memphis team the last 2 matchups. I guess okay in both those matchups. 28 minutes here, 25 minutes here. Went over in one, crushed it in one, and then did come up just short in the other one. He did do well in terms of his assists in both those games, 5 and 6 assists. You can see the way he gets assists in similar types of players. Pretty good in that situation. I'm probably just going to land on his points here because the main thing I'm going to look at is his matchup here to score some points. Really, really good in terms of spot-up shooting, transition, pick-and-roll ball handling, free throws, all really weak for this Memphis defense. And again, very similar types of players, all going over their lines against Memphis. The other thing is Steph Curry has been shut down in both games they played. He had 13 points in this game. He did play 26 minutes. He played 24 minutes in this game. They lost by 51. He had 2 points. So he's in a pretty good spot to score some points, but similar types of players to him, the way he scores his points in terms of the amount of percentages and things like that, similar types of players not playing pretty well. So you got to look at someone else. I think Brandin Podziemski is the next best guy here with his specific matchup, the way he's played against this team, and also the games he's played with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry in the lineup here. You see he's over this in 57% of those games. If you want to go to points and assists, it's only 50%. So I'm kind of talking myself out of the assists. I just want to point out he is in a pretty good spot to get some assists here. I just don't love the numbers he's been putting up with these guys on the court. Now, the next thing I want to point out is some of these games, this is literally a 1-minute game. So he's projected for 30 minutes in this game. If you go to like 26 plus minutes or so, his hit rate even looks a little bit better. 8 of 11 games going over this. So the points, really good situation here. The above the break threes, that's where 40% of his shots come from. 29th ranked there. And again, pretty much every way he scores the ball, it's going to be a green matchup for Podziemski here. So 13.5, looking pretty good here for Pod. A couple other guys I think in pretty good spots just because of that very weak defense above the break threes. I'd like to get to Steph Curry in terms of his 3-pointers. It just hasn't performed against Memphis. So the next best option here is going to be Podziemski, who's similar types of players to him in terms of his percentages. Similar way he scores the ball to Steph Curry, but the way he gets percentage-wise, it's going to be similar to these types of players, and they've been going over their lines. So maybe they lock up the main guys, let the other guys beat them. You can see that in terms of the spot-up defense. They're ranked 23rd there. So if they're going to lock up Steph Curry, I'm sure he'll have no problem getting an open Podziemski, especially if he's knocking down his shots. So Podziemski over his points, I think that's going to be my favorite play of this game. And then just because I can't help myself here, I wanted to get to something in this game just because it's probably the best game of the night. Jokic's unders, something that I'm considering, but I'm not going to pull the trigger just because how good he has been. Not in this matchup particularly, but he has just been really good in terms of what he's been showing, especially coming back from injury. He can stuff the stat sheet really against anyone. Yes, he hasn't had great success against this Minnesota team, but the guy I'm going to land on is going to be Rudy Gobert. His rebounds and assists, I think, is the best line here. He's been getting a ton of time recently, projected for 38 minutes in this game or 37 minutes, so I went to 35 plus on the rebounds and assists. Looking really, really good here. You can also see head-to-head. Now he doesn't have played this much minutes in all those matchups, but he's over this in all 3 of those games as well. You could talk about his points. Yes, he's been able to score a little bit, but I don't trust Rudy Gobert, particularly as a scorer. No Naz Reid here to spread the floor either when he's on the court with him. So he's been scoring really well lately. I'm just not going to trust it. Just going to go to the rebounds and assists. I think that's the best hit rate in terms of his like 35 plus minutes as well. If you look at points PRA. Yeah, I'm going to land on his rebounds and assists. I just like that potential for him. I almost just went to assists alone just because that much time against the defense that gives up the most assists in the league. Definitely a decent spot for him to chip in with some assists, but also rebounding. If you're going to put him on the court for that much time in terms of rebounding, he's had a pretty good success against rebounding against the Jokic Nuggets as well. So I'm just going to do the rebounds and assists, 12.5. I think that's the last play of today. All right, so that's going to do it for this one. The recap we got going on. How about 6 official plays here for a 7-game slate? Can't really beat that. Definitely liking the value on the board here. It's going to be Deni Avdija over 13.5 rebounds and assists. Ryan Dunn over his, I don't know why I said rebounds and assists. This is supposed to be a points line here for Ryan Dunn. 8.5 points, that's the better. Chris Paul under his 15.5 PRA. Kobe White over his 28.5 points and assists. Brandin Podziemski over 13.5 points. And then Rudy Gobert over 12.5 rebounds and assists. Going to try to have another winning day here. 6-0 sweep would be great. And again, really liking the reads, what we got going on. Ultimately, your decision if you want to go to them or not. I'll maybe add more plays to my Discord community if you want to check that out. Link in the description down below to get access to all my plays and also all my slips to all these different DFS platforms that I post most days. So definitely check us out. Plenty of different ways to get in for free. Signing up for PrizePicks, Underdog, Betr, Sleeper, Dabble, any of these different partner platforms, and you can do that very easily. All in the description down below. Just make sure you get my code in use. Get a screenshot of that and send it to me over in the free part of the Discord, which you can join. Again, link in the description down below. And yeah, that's going to do it for us in this one. Hopefully, have another winning day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.